And this meeting is officially started. So let's go ahead and just go with our guest this evening. Why don't we get a quick introduction from you and how you heard about Toastmasters and what you're looking to get out of this meeting? Jessica, let's start with you, please.
So I actually heard from Toastmasters. I have an assignment for a marketing class. It's networking, and this was one of the options that our professor provided. And so I think I read a little bit about what you guys do. I think it's about public speaking, if I'm not mistaken. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm definitely interested in hearing what you guys have to say because I'm not a very good public speaker. So I'm open ears.
Me neither. It's my first meeting, so for sure, definitely public speaking. It's a fun one. Thank you for coming out. James, let's go to you next, sir.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Excuse me. Good evening, everyone. I'm actually getting over a cold, so I thought this would be the first thing to do after getting over that cold was coming to Toastmasters. I'd actually been to Toastmasters before, like 3 or 4 years ago, because my mom really wanted to go, and I just watched and saw everything that they did. I wasn't particularly interested at that time, but because my professional career path has evolved since then, and public speaking is a part of that, I figured this would be a good way to spend my, what's today, Wednesday? Wednesday evening. So yeah, a good evening, everyone.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, that's there's no better way for us members to spend our Wednesday evenings. It's always a grind whenever before the meeting starts, like, "God, I got a meeting tonight." But once we end, we're always pretty jacked up about it and always glad we did it. So welcome. Let's go to Erica, please.
Hi, thank you. My name is Erica. Welcome. Thank you for having me. My role changed at my organization. I'm not always comfortable public speaking. Since I started working for this company, I've had to make multiple presentations and things like that, but I'm uncomfortable networking. I'm kind of an introvert mostly. On one-on-one, I can talk crap with whoever all day, but like in front of a big setting or something like that, I get very uncomfortable. I sweat. I get nervous, and I'm trying to get over that. So Toastmasters came highly recommended by, I want to say, like 10 different people, as like a way to get over it. Also improv classes, which probably won't do that, but there's that. Jessica, I work for an agency and I'm looking for interns. If you're interested, you can apply to that. We'll talk about it later. But yeah, I'm the vice president of accounts for a marketing agency. So I have to do this often, right? And biz dev is part of the role in addition to every other hat I wear. So I have to get over it. So this is my way of working to get over it. So thank you for having me.
Excellent. Glad to hear. And look at that. The meeting started and we're already networking. We're making connections. That's what it's all about. No problem. Love it. And as someone who took a year of improv with Toastmasters, I highly recommend it. Very good for just getting up in front of people and make a fool of yourself. A plus. I love it. So definitely, I recommend it from my end. Give it a try. It's a fun time. Nora, good to see you. Looks like you might be driving there. Hopefully, it's safe to talk.
Yeah, it's okay for me to talk. Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me this evening. My name is Nora, and I'm a representative from FIU. I was recommended the Toastmasters Club from my supervisor because we're going around to different organizations and groups, and we're hosting safety presentations. So she suggested that this would be a good opportunity to maybe reach out to a couple people or even learn some different skills about speaking, since we go to different locations and we actually host presentations.
Excellent, excellent. Did you say you worked at FIU? Is that?
Yes, I work as a research assistant. And so one of the things that we're working on as transportation engineers is giving more people information about how to be aware of one another in roadways. So that includes pedestrians, bicyclists, and drivers. So we go to schools, different organizations, churches, and we present about safety because sometimes it's taken for granted. And a lot of accidents do occur when people aren't paying attention to each other.
Excellent, excellent. Good to hear. Glad to hear. I know FIU does have a Toastmasters club. I think Armando is. I don't know if you're familiar, but I know one of the officers over there. But they're a good club as well. So another club to visit and pick their brains. Some good people over there in that club. All right, so guests, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us this Wednesday evening. Again, this is a little bit of a different kind of meeting just because of the turnout. So just know, leaving this meeting that this isn't the usual, how it usually goes. But we're going to make the best of it, and we're going to get better because of it. So let's move on. We have one functionary tonight. Usually we'll have a grammarian. Lucas going to be all counter, so I'll introduce. But let's go to Mario first as our timer tonight. Mario, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and the role that you have tonight. We have one speaker. It's an icebreaker. So go ahead and let us know how you're going to be timing us tonight.
Thank you, Mr. President. Greetings, Toastmasters, fellow Toastmasters and guests. As timer, I will be the table topics. Oh no, I'm reading the wrong script, I think. I'm sorry, this is kind of the second time that I do this. I'm trying to find the script for the timer. Okay, as timer, I will time the table topic speakers, formal speeches, and the evaluations. I will also alert the speakers the time they have left using the green, yellow, and the red cards, which note specific times remaining. Table topic speakers should limit their remarks to no more than 2 minutes. At 1 minute, I will raise the green card. At 1 minute and 30 seconds, I will raise the yellow card. At 2 minutes, I will raise the red card. Those giving speeches should limit their remarks to their specific speech times. Icebreakers should be 4 to 6 minutes long. At 4 minutes, I'll do the green, 5 minutes yellow, 6 minutes of the red card. Most of the other speeches are 5 to 7 minutes in length. At 5, I will do the green, 6 yellow, 7 red. The individual evaluations are 2 to 3 minutes long. 2 minutes will be the green card, 2 minutes and 30 seconds will be the yellow card, and 3 minutes will be red. And that's it. Thank you.
Excellent job, Mario. We're going to do something, we're going to do something a little different tonight. We have one icebreaker speech. Icebreaker is the first speech. We have Klaus tonight. I'll introduce him in a second, but that'll be the first speech in Toastmasters that he's giving. So it's a special night for Klaus. In regards to table topics for members tonight, we will go ahead and do a 2 minute. Usually it's a 1 minute minimum. Tonight we'll do a 2 minute. Just kind of drag it out, give us a little more of a challenge. And any guests, feel free, if you feel free to participate, well, you can keep it at 1 minute. That's fine. That's enough of a challenge as it is. Let's introduce our counter of the evening. He's doubling up tonight. Lucas Calafell, why don't you give us a little rundown of the counter position?
Absolutely, Mr. Toastmaster. As the counter, I'm going to be responsible for carefully listening to the ahs, the ums, the you knows, the buts, and so's, the crutch words that we use in everyday speech that we tend to just not pay attention to. Well, in Toastmasters, part of becoming a better public speaker is to be aware of the ahs and the ums and to try to eliminate them as best as you can. This is a growing experience. So it doesn't matter at this point if there are some ums and ahs, as long as you are aware you're in a position to make improvements, and Toastmasters is the avenue for it. With that, concludes my role description. Back to you, Brian.
Thank you, Lucas. Like I mentioned earlier in the beginning, we would go next to our grammarian of the evening, but tonight we are cutting that role. Usually that role will supply a word of the night, and we will try and say that word as many times in our speeches or in our extemporaneous responses. Try to add that word in there as an extra challenge, but tonight's going on without it. I believe that's everything for me tonight. I'll put in my bio. I'm going to be a vote counter tonight. So when we vote for table topics, go ahead and send me that vote. I'll add that in my name here. But other than that, let's go ahead and move on to our first and only speaker of the evening. Second, tonight we have Mr. Klaus with his icebreaker speech, My Life and the Why. My Life and the Why. Mr. Klaus Sage, the floor is yours. Klaus, you're muted. Sorry, I had to interrupt you there, sir.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Well, thank you for the introduction. So tonight at my icebreaker speech, I'm going to talk about myself. I'm going to talk about my life, how I came to Miami, and I'm going to finish by telling you guys my reasons for enrolling at this wonderful club. So yeah, my name is Klaus. I am originally from Venezuela, from the capital, Caracas. I spent 17 years of my life there. I did my last year of high school, and then, well, life in Venezuela was becoming limited because of the political unrest, the settlement of the dictatorship, and I wanted to try something different. So I decided to move to Germany. And my father is German, and that's kind of my heritage. So I decided to move to Germany. I knew from the beginning it was going to be difficult to separate from my family, integrate into a new society, learn a new language. But at the end, I'm really happy I made that choice because I successfully completed my degree, which was my main goal. I went to Germany to study business finance. And yes, of course, it wasn't easy. I went through a lot of rough moments, but those moments made me evolve and grow as a person. At the end, I'm really happy I made that choice. And after graduating, I was craving for a new challenge. I was craving for a new challenge, preferably closer to my family that had decided to move to Miami. So I said, okay, let's move to the States, but maybe not so close from my family. Let's go to Boston. I found a good job opportunity in Boston, and I was happy there, but then the pandemic made my stay in Boston short. And it, luckily for me, that made my decision easier to move to Miami. And it was just what I needed, just the warmth and the funness and the relaxed people of Miami welcomed me with open arms. And after being here for 6 months, I can say that it was the right choice. After 7 years of cold weather, of seriousness and hard work, this city was just what I needed. And so yes, after 6 months in Miami, I decided to enroll at this wonderful club. And the reasons for that were that I wanted to get better at, I wanted to become more comfortable talking to big groups. I had never had issues talking one-on-one, but yes, talking to big groups was always kind of a challenge for me. And I thought, I gave it a try. I came here as a guest, and I thought it was great. I thought it was great. I became a member. Well, and now I'm really happy that I made that choice because I met this really supportive group of people. And I don't think there's a better place to be to improve the public speaking skills. Thank you very much.
Klaus, thank you very much. Usually when we in-person meetings, when someone gives their icebreaker, we give a standing ovation. Obviously tough over Zoom, but it's very difficult for someone to stand in front of a group of strangers or a room full of people and stand there and give a speech. So it is something when the whole room stands and applauds. So good job, Klaus. Obviously, try to imagine us all standing and applauding you on that one. Sorry that couldn't be in person, but great job. Let's get a timers report, please, Mario.
Yes, the speech was for 3 minutes and 50 seconds.
3 minutes and 50 seconds. So has to be 4 minutes minimum to qualify. It's all right. First time giving a speech, but
I found it strange because I also timed myself. and it saw that it was 4 minutes and like 5 seconds.
Oh yeah.
That's
We got-
that's
we
fine. I
have
mean,
it.
I trust the work of the timer, so it's fine.
This is a first. This is a Toastmasters first.
Yeah, it might be that I started after the mute. I don't know if maybe that played a
No. I'm
A
sure I
role in
made a
that.
mistake. I'm sure I made a mistake. Don't worry.
You know what? It's fine. We'll give it to Klaus. We'll give it to Klaus. We will we'll trust his clock there, and we'll allow him to qualify due to the fact that he's our only speaker tonight. So all good, Klaus. Thank you very much. So let's move on to our topics master, table topics master of the evening, doubling duties, Mr. Lucas Calafell. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. For our most welcome guest, Table Topics is an opportunity for both members and guests to speak off the cuff and get put on the spot and answer a question given to them at random. It's one of those opportunities where you get somewhat thrown off your feet because you don't know what question to expect. And the way that it works is once the person is given the question, they have up to 1 to 2 minutes to give a response. For our members, we want to give that extra challenge. We're going to extend the table topics time from 1 minute to a 2-minute minimum. So for our members, when you get the question, you should try to speak and give a well thought out answer to the question, meeting that 2-minute minimum. For our most welcome guests, if you are interested in answering a question, we will only limit you to the 1 minute as far as the minimum, but this is just an opportunity for you to practice. So there's no pressure. Don't worry about qualifying or anything like that. Just give it your best shot. With that, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to call on, actually, I'm just going to ask the question and then send that over to the member of my choice. And I came up with these questions thinking about the meeting's theme, heritage. So let's see what we have. Where would you be from in a past life? What would your heritage be in a past life? Brian.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. In a past life, where would I be from? Where would my heritage come from? Excellent question. And you would think, knowing how deep I can get on these questions, that I probably think about this all the time. But surprisingly, I do not. I'm too busy thinking about, where I would be if I was an astronaut, or where I would be if I was Jeff Bezos. But I don't think about heritage. So it's an excellent question. It's really going to get me out of my comfort zone on this one. I appreciate it. I'm always intrigued, ever since I was a kid, with Native American heritage. Learning about it in elementary school and again in college, you kind of take American history classes and you see and learn about how the natives live their life. Living here in Florida, obviously Miccosukee tribe, we have the Seminoles. I went to Florida State, so I have that connection with the Seminoles by school. That's it. So that's one thing, maybe that's what I was. Maybe that's what my draw was going to Florida State, because I felt like maybe in a past life I was a Seminole. Maybe in a past life I was leading the charge. Our mascot is a Seminole who runs out on a horse. He rears the horse up and he throws a spear in the ground before games. Maybe that was me in a past life, but in a real situation, maybe in a real battle. Because every time I saw that, it just got me all jacked up. The blood was flowing, and that's where I wanted to be. So that's where I think about. If I was in a past life, I would love to live that Native American heritage, really dig deep and find out, just see how they lived. The books don't do it justice. The documentaries don't do it justice. And obviously it wasn't an easy life for Native Americans here in America. Things have happened. you know, obviously there's with many heritages in here, you know, besides the Europeans who came and settled, life was not easy for everyone else who basically was involved with America. So, you know, obviously it'd be something interesting to live through. It'd be a good learning experience. One of the harder questions I've ever been asked, Lucas, and the time limit on this one is ridiculous. So I'm hoping I'm close to 2 minutes because I'm going to wrap it up. And I hope I answered your question. Back to you, Table Topics Master. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian. Yes, I came up with that question with every intention for it to be difficult. And who better to answer it than you, Brian? Let's hear from, actually, let me go to the next question. Okay. If you had to start a family tradition from scratch, from the beginning, what would that family tradition be? I'll give that question to Mario. And Mario, I will time you, so you don't have to worry about timing yourself.
Wow. Okay. So what kind of tradition would I have? Well, recently in the past year, I started camping. My son joined the Cub Scouts, and around the same time, my brother bought an RV. He has a huge RV. He lives up in Tampa, and so frequently I've been going up there to join him in the camping. And originally, I honestly didn't like. I didn't enjoy camping. I thought it was kind of a drag to be out in the wilderness, and you know you're sweating and you don't have AC. But eventually I caught on into it, and I started to enjoy it. I started walking out in nature, and you know started doing things differently. I'm more of a computer guy. You know, I love, you know, I could be all day sitting on my computer and playing computer games or just reading stuff online or learning things. But being out in nature and seeing the great outdoors really had an impact on me. And so I've really gotten into camping, and I started learning knots. You know, the scouts, that's the thing that they do. You know, they learn how to set up tents and tie knots and all these different. There's like 50 different knots that you can do, and it's a good skill to have. You know, let's say that you're in a zombie apocalypse and then you're trying to survive. You need to have these kind of skills. And one of the things that I picked up and that I really became proficient in is cooking, outdoor cooking. As a adult leader in the Scouts, I took a class. I did like a whole weekend training, and there was a specific class about cooking on these kettles. They're like called they have a name. Dutch oven cooking. Dutch oven. It's basically it's a steel cast iron pot, and you put your food inside of it, and then you put coals under it and above it, and you put a certain amount of them, and you just leave it there cooking, and then by the time 45 minutes, or it really depends on what you're cooking, is done. The food is amazing. It's one of the best meals that I've had. And so yeah, this is one of the traditions. So in my family, I would like to get, you know, I'm taking my kids camping often, and so I hope that they do it as well, and it becomes a tradition that survives, you know, after I get old and pass away. So yeah, this is my tradition. Thank you.
Thank you, Mario, for that response. I think we're all committed to at least trying camping at least once. I think you sold me on zombie apocalypse and certain skills that one should know. What is a food recipe that has been passed down to you? I'm going to give that to Klaus.
Okay. A food recipe that was given to me. When you ask me that question, one recipe comes to my mind straight. I don't have to think for too long. I just have it in the top of my mind because cooking is a big part of my family's life. We really enjoy cooking as a family. Growing up, cooking was never made by one single member. For us, every night was like an event. Every night, we decided what to cook, a different thing, and we all gathered in the kitchen and just helped each other cook. One person cooked the onions, one person cut the onions, other person cut the tomatoes, one person makes the eggs. Everyone has a different task. And that was our way to connect, because during the day, everyone has their own life. Some people go to school, my father goes to work. Everyone has their own things to do, but at night, it was our moment to connect as a family. I guess this is something Latin families do. Maybe I am generalizing, but I've heard, or what I know from my family is that we all enjoy to spend a lot of quality time together. So to answer your question, the recipe that is really the most important for me, that I learned to cook by myself, it's called Bratkartoffel. That's a German name. And the traduction of that is, it's like potato, but I really do not know the traduction. But at the end, I can explain to you how it's done. You have potatoes, you have onions, you have bacon. Yes, so you have bacon, all these things that we all love, like bacon, potatoes, onions. And once you have the potatoes, the onions, the bacon, everything fried, then you put 2 fried eggs on the top. And then that's just delicious. That's just delicious. You have no idea how much I love it. I don't know if I explained it correctly, but I did the best I could. And that's just a part of my German culture that I embrace. Even though I am Venezuelan, like I was born and raised in Venezuela, that's my heritage. I never denied it. That's where I come from. But obviously, because of my father, I have German influence. And that's my favorite dish. That's my favorite dish. Thank you. Back to you, master topic, master.
Thank you, Klaus, for giving us insight into the family dynamic at night and how you all get together and cook, and also that dish. So the next time I'm at a German restaurant, I'm going to be looking for that on the menu, and hopefully it's there.
I'm sure it will be, because it is famous. It's something known in the north, not so much in the south. That's more of a typical north dish in Germany.
All right, fantastic. Thank you very much. At this time, since all members, well, I'm the topics master, so I have the privilege of not answering the question tonight. But if any guest would like to participate, you can do the raise hand emoji gesture, or you can unmute yourself and say, hey, I want a question, and I will be more than happy to ask you. And remember, this is only limited to 1 minute for you all as most welcome guests. So let's hear who's interested.
Just call on a guest, Lucas. Let's make it interesting. Let's see how.
All right, I think Erica is being brave. I think that was a hand raise. So let's see.
It wasn't, but I mean, okay.
Okay, this one, I think it's fine. How would you describe your parents?
And how would I describe my parents? My parents are, do I start now? We go? Okay. My parents are interesting people. They're both very different human beings. They're no longer married. They're very divorced. They've been divorced for quite a while. They're both immigrants. So I am a Latina. My parents are both Cuban. They immigrated to this country. They're very strong personalities, both of them. My father is a santero, and my mom is very much like a Cuban, like Christian, very religious human. So the dichotomy there is quite interesting. So you understand more or less a little bit as to why they are no longer married. They are some of their dynamic and the way that I grew up very much shapes the way that I parent my daughter, as well as my outlook on the world and professional, like my professional life and everything else. So I don't know. They're both very. I don't know. I have an odd relationship with both of them. My dad is very serious for a long time in my life. We didn't get along because we're very different. He's not a kind person. He grew up in like a very harsh time period in Cuba. He grew up in what they call like La Selva, which is very much jungle. He had a rough upbringing. He was the oldest sibling, so he had to work for everything he got. So he's kind of a tough, machista kind of human. And then there's my mom, that is a workaholic, religious person. She's hilarious. She's quite funny. And just like this general personality that she like walks into a room and she fills up a room. She's 75 years old and she still wears super high heels. My sister sent me a video of her when we bought my daughter's car. We were moving the car from place to place and we hid it in her house. And there's a video of my mom twerking on my daughter's car, like just to be like, she's just like that kind of bubbly personality. Funny, just generally humorous. So everything that I am is like either being the opposite of them or quite just mimicking them. So it's my relationship with them is very strange. Did I hit the minute?
Oh yeah, definitely. Amazing job, Erica. You did it. And you know what that means? That means that other guests can do it too. So if anybody else is interested, maybe James, Jessica, Nora. We just got Christopher. Okay, James, I see that your hand is raised. What's a family tradition that you had growing up?
Ooh, so that's a great question. A family tradition that I had growing up was one that I feel is not particularly unique to my family, but it was one that could be found in my family for sure. It was dancing around the kitchen while preparing food. And that's something that I feel like a lot of people can resonate with. But what made it particularly interesting in my case was the fact that both of my parents come from a combination of heritages, right? Because my dad is African American and my mom is Latina from Panama. So on one hand, you'd have Prince and Michael Jackson playing, and on the other hand, you'd have Hector Lavoe playing. So, it'd be the weirdest combination of music. You go from salsa to crotch grabbing. So, you never knew what you were going to get, but you always had an amazing meal at the end of the dance session. And it's definitely something that I feel I'd like to carry on in my own family moving forward, because I definitely feel as though my heritages have led to me having a rich musical influence and cultural influence. And yeah, that's the family tradition that I had growing up. I don't remember what the colors mean. I know that Mario's green right now, so I think that means I'm still good. But I just like to say that I appreciated hearing everybody else's heritage and their stories. I found myself very hungry with the desire to dance around the kitchen, and that's my speech.
Thank you very much, James, for that response and give us insight into your childhood tradition that you wish to carry on in the future. Thank you for that. And I'm going to take this as last call before we jump into the final segment of our meeting. So if Jessica or Nora, if you're interested, raise your hand. If not, that is absolutely okay. All right, Nora, I see you. Okay. I think Nora beat you too, Jessica.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Okay. Nora, who was a childhood hero of yours?
So someone I would say has always been a childhood hero for me is the pastor at my church. So I came here when I was 5 from Haiti with my parents, and church has always been a significant factor for us. And so at first, we were trying to find the best place for us to go to. And when we came to our church, my pastor was very welcoming. He is a very sweet man who always encourages us to continue in the faith. He also helps the youth when it comes to different activities. Every year we have a vacation Bible school, which is a summer program that we do for a lot of kids who are younger, between the ages of 5 to high school. And so he's always interacting with us. He's always encouraging us and motivating us. One thing I've been struggling with lately is to go back and get my master's degree. And one thing he's always done for me is he's always in my corner. In fact, one of my recommendation letters was from him, and he speaks so kindly to us. He has an amazing amount of patience. When it comes to difficulties that you're going through in life, a lot of times the older generation tends to look down on the younger generation. So sometimes it's harder to talk to them and get their experience. But with him, he's so easygoing, and he just loves to share with others around him. Like, he's always constantly talking about his past and how he's become who he is today. And he continues to encourage us to pursue like all of our hopes and dreams, and even to stay close to God. He's constantly, he shows up at everybody's funerals, and he shows up to different people's birthday parties. So he's a constant presence that shows that even in the good times or in the bad times, he's always there to be either a shoulder to cry on or a hand to clap at when it comes to celebration. So my figure would be my pastor. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Nora. Based on what you said, sounds like that was somebody that certainly made an impact. All right.
Yes.
That concludes table topics. Thank you everyone for your participation and for your responses. And I'm going to test myself, because part of being a topics master is active listening. So I'm going to see how accurate I can be in giving a short recap on everyone's response. So let's start with Brian. In a past life, you would have been a Seminole, partly due to the fact that you attended Florida State University. Klaus, you are Venezuelan by birth, but you do have a lot of German influence, and you talked about the recipe that involves potatoes, bacon, onions, and how you like to cook with your family at night. Erica, you talked about how you kind of range from being similar to your parents or the opposite of them, and you talked about how they themselves are very different from a religious standpoint. Mario, you've become a fan of camping now because you're involved with Boy Scouts and you have your son there. So I think you'll fare well in the zombie apocalypse should that happen. James, you talked about the tradition, the childhood tradition of dancing and the different influences and exposure you got to different kinds of music. And Nora, you talked about your pastor and how that person is someone that shows up to funerals, that helps people see the silver lining and the positive things when circumstances are somewhat difficult. I hope that covers what everyone talked about as accurately as I could. With that, I'm going to end the table topic session and move into the speech evaluations. Mr. Toastmaster, over to you.
Thank you, Lucas. Should we get a timer's report for table topics?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Toastmaster. Okay, so I have Brian is on 2 minutes, 50 seconds. Klaus was 3 minutes. Erica, 2 minutes, 44 seconds. James, 1 minute, 41 seconds. And Nora, 2 minutes and 6 seconds. The way I did it is that the members were 2 minutes and the guests were 1 minute. So everybody qualifies.
Okay. Just to clarify, when it comes to submitting your vote to the vote counter, guests could certainly vote, but they could only vote for the members that spoke. So you are free to send a private message to Brian, our vote counter, with the best speaker, the best table topic speaker, but only based on the members that qualified. So that means Klaus, that means Mario, and Brian.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Lucas. So let's move on now to the evaluation portion of our meeting. Usually, this is where we have a general evaluator of the meeting who steps up and introduces the evaluators, and then we'll go on and evaluate the meeting according to that person, kind of give a general evaluation of the meeting as a whole. Tonight, we don't have a general evaluator due to lack of the lack of participants tonight, but it's okay. We'll muddle through. So I'll go ahead and start my evaluation timer. I haven't started my evaluation yet of Klaus, so I will go ahead and do that now. Once I say his name, you can start the time, so we can get the timer down for the evaluation. Klaus, first of all, I want to commend you for taking on this growth opportunity, for stepping up, joining the club, and giving your first speech tonight. Obviously, a little different over Zoom. We're in the comfort of our homes. We're sitting down in front of a screen. So the impact may not be where it usually is in person. Maybe the growth potential is not where it usually is, but the fact remains you showed up tonight and you gave your first speech. Great job. I commend you. Like I said, usually we give a standing ovation. You would have got one tonight in person because you deserve it. You deserve that. Let's start off with the things that you did well. I loved the story you took us on. You have a life full of challenges. First of all, being born and growing up in Venezuela, very tough place. We talked about it on Saturday when we met in person. Not an easy situation over there, but you're able to leave that situation, go to Germany. You lived there for a few years, start adapting the German culture. That's a culture shock, obviously, going from Venezuela to Germany. Total change. Like you said, you didn't mention it, but we know that the change of coming from a Latin culture to a German, it's one is very open while one is very distant, very cold. Total shock. Then after a while, after you graduate, you get your degree, you say, I'm looking for another challenge. My life isn't challenging enough. Let me go to the States. Let me find a new adventure. Go to Boston. In Boston's, things are happening in Boston. Life is good. We're gaining traction. Pandemic hits, obviously changing everyone's lives. Now it's time, okay, let me find a little shelter, find a little safety. Let me find a new challenge in Miami. Let me join my family. Let me get closer to have that support system close to me and join my family in Miami. Beautiful story. I think the one thing you really have going for you is that you are a world traveler, just in nature. You've been everywhere. You've been all over, in all corners of the world. You have a story to tell. So don't be afraid to really, show that story. Don't just tell us. Don't say, hey, I was in Venezuela, then Germany, and Boston. Really show us. How did you feel when you arrived in Germany? How did you feel when you arrived in the States? Let us see it. Get animated. Let us know. That's the main thing with being a public speaker, is really stepping out of your comfort zone and animating yourself to your audience. To get better, I would say in future speeches, take a step back from your screen. Obviously it's easy from the screen. Maybe you have your notes up there. It's easy to kind of cheat a little bit. In order to make sure that you're memorizing and actually getting better, take a step back from the screen, stand up, and let us know that, give us your speech, but so we know that you're not using your notes. It's a much easier, and you connect with the audience better that way. And one thing I tell everyone, it was told to me, and it's one of the best advice when giving a speech I've ever heard. We all want to see you start a speech with a bang and end with a bigger bang. So don't just get up there and say, hey, I'm Klaus, I'm giving a speech today. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to tell, I'm going to talk about my life. Don't do that. You're wasting time. Jump right in. Venezuela, give us a hardship you faced right off the bat. We want to see it. We want to hear it. You lived it. Let us know. Going to Germany, and then end it. You're here, COVID. What a challenge! It's the hardest thing I've ever done. I'm going down to Miami. Let us know. End with a bang. But great job. Cannot wait for your next speech and taking this feedback and moving forward and becoming a better speaker. Really, my pleasure. Klaus, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Lucas, do we want to do a round robin? Do you want to set that up? I forgot to mention that when going in.
Yeah, that's fine. It would just be 1 minute timer. When I start, just set the clock for 1 minute and give me the green. Actually, give me the red. That will tell me I should wrap it up by the. When it comes to round robin evaluation, it's just a 1 minute evaluation on Klaus's speech. So Klaus, I really enjoyed the speech and the story that you shared. You showed the journey that you made from where you started off to where you are now. You gave us a clear picture of how you got from Venezuela to Miami. I want to focus more on some of the technical aspects of your speech and some of the things when it came to framing. I think lighting could be a little bit better, maybe a ring light or something in the background to help out with that. I noticed that during the speech, you were swiveling in your chair, moving a little bit. If you stay straight and without moving the chair, it would not become a distraction, which I feel it kind of was because I wasn't sure where you were moving there. And the last thing I want to mention is that in any speech, rather than give us the outline of exactly what you're going to talk about, just go right into it with the storytelling so that you can focus more on the story and less about doing the bullet points. I'm going to tell you about Venezuela, then how I got here and there, and then I'm going to wrap it up. Just jump right into it. Like what Brian said, with that bang, get into the storytelling and take us through that journey. And I believe with better lighting, with better framing and just staying still, you're going to be even more powerful when you give your next speech. Thank you.
Excellent job. Thank you, Lucas. I wonder, Mario, do you want to jump in with a round robin evaluation of Klaus for tonight?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. This is the first time that I do this speech for the evaluation. I'm kind of a new member. I joined the club 2 to 3 minutes, not 2 to 3 minutes ago, 2 to 3 months ago, I think. And so, you know, I know it's tough to do the icebreaker speech. I was really nervous when I did it, but I think you did a great job, Klaus. I enjoyed, you know, learn more about you, about, you know, that you come from Venezuela and that there was some hardship there and that you went to Germany and you had some experiences. You did mention that you had some kind of challenges there in Germany. Like, it sounded interesting, and I would have liked to hear more about, you know, what are these challenges that you had in Germany. And so, and then after Germany, you came back to the United States and you had an opportunity in Boston. I would have wanted to know what exactly is it that you did in Boston, just to give a little more background about that, and then why I guess what happened during the pandemic that you came to Miami, and maybe more about Miami, you know, like your family or what you're doing here. But no, I thought it was a really great speech, and I'm really glad that you did your icebreaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Mario. That's something that I do when I have speeches. I don't say everything I have planned. I plan to say, I plan to talk for 5 minutes and then I end up talking for 3 minutes. That's something I do. I'm aware of that, so I'm happy because I'm aware. And that's the reason I came here, also to improve all those accurate things. Like Lucas said, like, I don't want to say that much. I want to, whatever I practice to do before the speech, to end up doing it. That's something that I need to learn, and I'm sure I will. Thank you for the evaluation, guys.
Absolutely. Thank you, Klaus. Tonight, so let's get a timers report, Marge, for me. The round robin, you don't have to say, but for my time, I know you put it in the chat there, but if you could say the timer report for my eval.
Yeah, so your eval was 4 minutes and 4 seconds.
So I do not qualify way over time, but I thought it was beneficial to kind of delve a little deeper for Klaus being his first speech. So no worries on that. So tonight we will just have a best speaker and a best table topics. Please feel free, guests, all participants, please send your votes for best table topics. I've received some already, so I'll be tallying those up. Just let me give my quick general, actually, Lucas, do you want to be a general evaluator tonight? I'm talking a lot tonight.
Sure, yeah, that's fine, and you can work on tallying the votes as they start coming in. Distinguished guests and fellow members, the purpose of the general evaluation is to evaluate how the meeting as a whole went. In what ways can we improve, and thinking about what are the things that went well and some of the things that we may need to improve for the next meeting. This was a little bit of a different meeting. We changed things up a little bit because what we do is we adapt. Isn't that a life skill? When things just kind of don't happen the way you expect them to, you don't just drop it all off. You adapt and you try to find the value that you can. This is exactly what we're doing in Toastmasters. We're giving speakers the platform to improve their public speaking skills, whether that means speaking to a group of 7 or a group of 30. The techniques still apply, the experience still applies, and the feedback especially still applies. As a meeting as a whole, I think we kept as far as from a time management perspective, we hit the mark that we were, about the mark that we were looking for. Our meetings usually run for an hour and a half. Due to the adjustments that we had to make, we were targeting for an hour more or less. So I think that went well. We made the adjustments that we needed with the functionaries as far as having a timer and all counter to two essential role players that definitely have feedback for the speakers. Based on that, I do have to go into functionary reports. Timer, you gave yours throughout the meeting, and I will give mine as far as the all counter report. Brian, throughout the meeting, I combined your ahs and ums, that totaled 35, 3 so's, 3 you knows, and 1 so. Mario, I had you at 25, a combination of 25 ahs and ums and 5 you knows. Klaus, I had you at a combination of 7 ahs, ums, 3 ers, 2 so's, 2 ands, and you said yeah. I caught it a few times, but it became a crutch word, even though it's not one of the common ones. So I wanted to highlight and share that feedback with you. I hope someone was counting me. Maybe I have a few in there as well as far as crutch words go, but it's hard to keep track of yourself. So I hope someone did. And if so, send me a private message and let me know how I did. If not, oh well, the next time. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster of the evening.
Lucas, great job. Thank you so much for recapping the meeting for us. And I did keep track of your ums and so's. You had nothing. Your 0 as usual, perfect speech. You may have 1 in there, but I'm not going to ding you for it because you're. There's another one for me. You're big time. You're big time with the ums. Very good at pausing yourself and catching yourself. So great job there. Let's move on. Before we talk about quick club business, just because most of the participants tonight are guests, let's go and get some guest feedback. Clearly, like I mentioned at the start of this meeting, a very different meeting than what usually takes place just because of the, things came up with a lot of our members. They weren't able to make it today. So we had to kind of do a last second switcheroo, but that's what this club's all about. When things come up in life, we handle it, we take care of it. And that's what this club is. It's great for. It teaches public speaking, time management, managing a group. It's great. I love it. Let's start off with Nora. If you can give us some feedback tonight from the meeting.
I honestly enjoyed this meeting. It was not what I expected it to be, so I was pleasantly surprised. I truly enjoyed participating in the table topics and listening to everybody else's perspectives. I thought everybody did pretty well, and I would definitely be interested in coming back again.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Nora. I really appreciate that. Definitely, all guests are always welcome. There is no limit to the amount of time you can join as a guest, and hopefully soon we get back in person so you can join us and see what it's really all about, giving speeches in front of an actual audience. It's a total game changer. Appreciate that. Erica.
It was very interesting. I'm very uncomfortable. I don't know if you guys can tell. I was very uncomfortable speaking. And the fact that it was like a safe space to be uncomfortable and to test out how to articulate things was really nice. I ran over, embarrassingly so. I talk a lot of crap, clearly. So it was nice that you guys were so gracious about it. I think the way that you guys run the meeting is very well thought out. It's very well planned. Listening to how it's supposed to run versus how it went, you guys adapted really well. It really was enjoyable throughout. So thank you.
Appreciate that, Erica. Thank you so much. Very kind words. James, sir.
I'd like to say that although the meeting wasn't run in the typical fashion, as you stated throughout the meeting, I think that sort of gave us an opportunity to feel uncomfortable, as Erica said, because what I did find particularly striking was the fact that although I'm at home in front of my laptop, speaking was still kind of awkward. But I mean, it was overall an awesome meeting. I really enjoyed hearing everybody's speeches. It was definitely awesome to see the fact that you guys got to review each other's speeches as well, and just the different roles that you serve as far as keeping time, counting filler words, and things like that. So definitely piqued my interest. I think that, as Nora said, I'd also be interested in continuing to do something like this to practice my speaking skills.
For sure. Yeah, we definitely need we need someone to step up our style game. So you're definitely more than welcome. You're rocking the suit in the meeting tonight. So we need that upgrade in the department. Appreciate it.
I just got off of work. It's not that serious.
I love it. Jessica. Jessica, you're muted. Sorry about that.
Can you guys hear me now? Okay. This being my first Toastmasters meeting, I didn't really know what to expect, but I was pleasantly surprised. I think everyone spoke very well, and you guys gave some really nice criticism. I was really impressed at how everybody could answer those questions right off the bat. That's something I wasn't comfortable doing just yet, but hopefully, in the future, maybe, that's something that that I'll be interested in doing. I am interested in coming back to another meeting and seeing you guys again. Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much. We hope to see you. And last but not least, sir, we know you joined us a little late. You might have gotten, I don't know how much of the meeting you were able to see, but Chris, just from what you were able to see, please, a little feedback from you, sir.
Hey, good evening, everyone. So my name is Chris. I do apologize for coming in late. I did show up at 7:40, so I saw about 20 minutes of it, and I never would have thought we'd be keeping time as much and as close as y'all were. So I'm deeply embarrassed for not being on time. So just real quick, I'm actually in Virginia. I'm moving to Miami in September. So I'm looking at things online to be able to join and become more involved with. I will tell you that this is something that I'm interested in. I had a colleague of mine who did Toastmasters, it still does, and this was about 4 years ago that I was exposed to it, but I never went to a meeting. I'm a retiring military officer, so I have a habit of speaking in public, and so I kind of dismissed a lot of her discussions about how great Toastmasters is. Seeing this, I can see that it can actually improve, probably take away my military jargon that I overuse and help me to speak in a better manner, especially the fact that y'all are counting ums and other filler words will definitely take under consideration those things. Thank you. It was fantastic to see. I'm sorry for being late.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much. And I was going to mention that's great that you said you had that military background, where doing these public speeches might help you move away from the jargon, like you mentioned. But being an officer in Toastmasters, that's what the management of each club is called, that could be very useful in helping the clubs proceed. And with that experience, that would be very beneficial to any club that you would join. So that's something to look into. And yeah, great networking opportunity with Toastmasters. There's a lot of clubs all around Miami and all around the world. So even if you're pretty decent with public speaking, it's still a good club to join and just meet other like-minded individuals. So great job. Great meeting you all tonight. Let us, I'm gonna have a little bit of club business real quick, just talking about the officer roles coming up. Mario, Klaus, obviously I talked to Mario already, and I need to send you that sheet that gives you the list of all of our officer roles. Klaus, if you're interested, we'd love to have you as well. As it is, Lucas and I will be staying on, and we will announce our full team hopefully by next meeting. We'll have everything settled out, and next meeting we'll be able to go so that we can get up and going July 1st with the new officers. Why don't I'll announce our winner of the evening. Our obviously we know who our best speaker was. I was eliminated from our evaluation because I went over time. That's okay. So I will go ahead and announce best speaker of the evening. Obviously, as you guessed, Klaus, the only one of the night. Congratulations, sir, with your icebreaker. But also came away with best table topics. It was close. You just edged out Mario and myself. So great job, sir. Table topics champion of the evening, Klaus, giving his first speech, giving his first table topics, comes away as champion. Congratulations, sir. Lucas, because today was a crazy meeting, is there anything else that I'm possibly missing besides calling for the next meeting? Maybe I'm just blanking on it.
No, I think we covered everything. You can call for next meeting, or we can do the email like we usually do.
Yeah, I'll probably do the email, just because we have so few people here. For the guests, before we wrap up, if you have any questions, obviously I'm going to stick around a little bit afterwards, so you can ask any questions there. But if we don't have your information, please go ahead and send it to Lucas and I in the chat, so that we can send you an introductory email, any kind of club materials that you may want that can answer any questions. We will obviously not spam you with anything, just strictly information. So please make sure you leave that, either a number or an email, if you'd wish to receive any further information.
I have all of their info.
Perfect.
So
We'll be
at
reaching out.
minimum an email, so I
Perfect.
have that.
Thank you so much. Okay, with that, let's take our photo, our club photo for the meeting. Obviously, like I said in the beginning, if you don't wish to be in the photo, you can go ahead and black out your screen. It's strictly just used for our social media. So if you're okay with that, put on a big smile, and Lucas with the countdown.
All right, let's start the countdown. Put on your best smile. 3, 2, 1. There we go. Thank you all.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And with that, that concludes our meeting. Thank you so much. Let me stop the recording.